Well, welcome to the Aging Boomers. I'm your host, Frank Sampson, and of course, on this show, we discuss so many of the issues facing boomers, their parents, spouses, and what, of course, is an aging population today. And, of course, we got another great guest. We always have great guests, but I want to let everybody know that today's show is sponsored by Senior Care Authority, a professional senior placement and elder care management organization that has a national network of advisors to help in determining the right path for seniors in receiving proper care, suggestions on living, and even supervision. So whether it's in-home care, assisted living, residential, or memory care, get the necessary advice from a senior care advisor in your area by calling Senior Care Authority at 888-809-1231, or you can go directly to the website at www.seniorcareauthority.com. And again, I want to just thank everybody. Tremendous amount of our listeners are increasing all the time. We're well into the tens of thousands of listeners, so we're pretty excited about that. And knowing that just started this latter part of last year. So thanks for all your support. For those of you that go ahead and share with family and friends, that they could go to iTunes, iHeartRadio, go right to our website at agingboomers.com. You can download your free app on your iPhone or Android phone. Just type in Aging Boomers and download it, and you can keep up to date on all of our podcasts. So I'm very excited about today's guest. Her name is Jill Delich. Jill earned her master's degree in gerontology with a concentration in counseling from Appalachian State University in Boone, North Carolina. She is the client care supervisor for CSS Home Care, which provides in-home care for people who need caregiving assistance to stay safely at home. Jill's role is to ensure that care is going well. She serves as the primary contact for clients and families and also directly supervises the caregivers. You got a big job there, Jill. Jill has always had close relationships with her grandparents, making the field of gerontology a natural fit for her. While volunteering for hospice, she had an experience with a patient that led to her passion of working with older adults who have memory loss. Jill worked as a memory care director in an assisted living community for 4 years prior to joining CSS Home Care. She is certified in validation therapy and has also facilitated a support group for the Alzheimer's Association. Jill continues to aspire to make the lives of seniors and their caregivers better in any way she can. So, Jill, welcome to the Aging Boomers. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, great to have you. So, I mentioned in the intro here a little bit about your background, talking about your experience while volunteering for hospice and how you kind of got into this field. Can you tell us a little bit more about that? What happened there?
Yeah, absolutely. So I was in undergrad at the time, and I thought that I wanted to seek bereavement counseling as a career. So I was volunteering with hospice, and they paired me with a lady with end-stage Alzheimer's and Parkinson's. And I had never, either personally or professionally, been around anybody with any type of memory loss before. So whenever I went to see her for the first time, I very classically did everything that you're not supposed to do. So I tried to reality-orient her. So she very rapidly kicked me out of her room, screaming and yelling, and she was frustrated. I was frustrated. I didn't understand why this lovely elderly lady did not want to visit with me at all. So I went home and did some research on the Internet in conjunction with the profile of her and what I knew about her. And so coupling those two things together, she was a Baptist lady from the mountains of North Carolina, a farmer's wife. She had never lived outside of the county that she grew up in. And so when I came back the second time, I came back very prepared. And I brought a book from the local library that was like an old-timey picture book of North Carolina. Mm-hmm. And I had her look over the pictures, and she started to kind of like feel them, and I could tell that she was calm and that it was something that she was enjoying. So I thought, okay, this seems to be going well. So I had made a mixed bluegrass CD. And so I turned it on, and the first song was Keep on the Sunny Side. And up until this point, anything that she had verbalized to me didn't have any meaning to me. It was all random words together in a sentence, you know, art, dog, popsicle, exit sign, you know, whatever it might be that she saw. And so I didn't, up until that point, it wasn't anything meaningful to me. And then whenever I started playing this music, she started singing right along. And the specific song was Keep on the Sunny Side. I don't know if you're familiar with those lyrics or with that song, but it's just such a positive thing that there's, you know, there's this dark and there's this troubled thing, but there's also positive things, and you got to focus on the positive. Right. And so that kind of became my life's mantra, and also my aha moment of, wow, there's something so much deeper and significant here than I initially thought. And so it just totally turned my career path on its ear, and I became enamored with focusing on people with memory loss and how to best communicate with them.
That's fantastic. It's a great story. So, I mean, was it your own intuition, or you knew, and you said you were an undergrad, had you been following along or being educated at that time in gerontology and kind of understanding that people's, you know, short-term memory might be gone, but long-term they have it? And I mean, how did you know to do that at that time?
I don't know. I think it was just a natural thing in conjunction with, you know, you learn all these different things in the classroom, but it's very different whenever you're out in the field and actually working with people and, you know, in that situation and present at that very moment in time. So I don't know. I just somehow read her body language, and I guess kind of naturally have an affinity for it.
Right.
So, yeah.
That's great. That's a great story. So you're certified or in validation therapy, okay? And I'm sure that's a term that some of our listeners have heard, but I got to believe that many have not heard that term before. Can you talk a little bit about it? What is it? What is validation therapy exactly?
So it's basically an approach to people with memory loss that is with an empathetic attitude, and you're trying to understand the behaviors and communications that people with various types of memory loss are expressing, whether verbally or non-verbally, and then specific techniques to go along with your validation.
Interesting. So, what? Yeah, go ahead.
Naomi Feil is the founder of validation therapy, and how she kind of came to develop it and understand it was she was actually doing this work with a group of individuals in a nursing home, I believe, and she was a MSW at the time, and what she was doing with which was at the time what was thought to be the best therapy, which is what they call reality orientation. So that means if somebody with memory loss comes up to you and says, I need to find my mom, where is she? And your response is, well, your mom's dead. That would be reality orientation. Right. So at the time, people thought that was the best way to
be honest,
interact with people with memory loss, you know? Right. And, you know, she very quickly, and anybody who has experience that at all, you very quickly find out that that's not the way to go, that they're not directly asking you, where is my mom? What they're really perhaps trying to say is, I miss my mom, or something along those lines. You just have to dig a little deeper to find out what it is that they're trying to communicate to you.
So how do you deal with families who, let's say you're a daughter, a son of someone with memory loss, their parent, and they you give them that recommendation on how to deal with those types of situations, like the example you gave. I mean, I've had it where some go, you know what, I've never lied to my mom, I'm not going to lie. How do you deal with that, with the family member that says that?
Yeah, so they're right, you don't want to lie, because just like people in comas, people that have memory loss still somewhere deep down inside have a reality, a present-day reality with them as well. So they know, in addition to people's body language, when they're being lied to. When you're asking, if your loved one is asking you, where's my mom, I want to talk to her right now, you're going to stop and just kind of think about approaching them with an empathetic attitude, kind of clearing your head of all of your thoughts about what's going on with you and being kind of fully present with them, and then asking them reporter questions, the who, what, where, when, how. You're not going to ask yes or no questions because that doesn't really tell you a whole lot of information. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, asking extremes. What was your favorite memory with your mom? What do you miss the most about your mom? What was the best meal your mom prepared? What, things along those lines where you can kind of reminisce with them in a sort of way. And that way it extracts the information of what they're really trying to say, which is perhaps, I missed my mom. Somewhere deep down inside, they do know that she's gone. They do know that she's dead. They're just trying to express that to you, but they can't communicate in the same way that you and I can.
Right. So it's a little bit of diversion. Would you call it diversion on a subject matter?
I don't think I'd call it diversion. I mean, redirection is definitely a
redirection.
Tool,
okay,
but it's only a Band-Aid for the situation. If I keep saying to you, I'm hungry, I'm hungry, I'm hungry, and you keep saying, why don't you go do the laundry? Why don't you go scrub the bathtub first? I'm still going to keep coming back to you and saying that I'm hungry. Same thing with memory loss. If I keep saying, I miss my mom, and you keep saying, okay, that's fine, but can you come sit at the table and eat a meal with me right now?
Right.
They're still going to have those feelings. They still need to be expressed.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's great suggestions. So I know that you're with a company called CSS Home Care. So, you manage caregivers, and I'm sure they're well-trained in working with situations like this. But, for those out there, family caregivers who are really trying to manage the situation themselves, how do they go? How can they learn validation therapy? What's the best way to go about doing that?
Well, there is a couple of different books by the founder, Naomi Feil, who is still alive and traveling the world, by the way, presenting this in all different countries and training people. She actually was just in the U.S. She's from the U.S. originally, but like I said, she's traveling the world and spreading the word. But in addition to that, they can Google it. There is some YouTube videos that demonstrate her working with people and practicing the validation techniques. I believe she also has a website for her specifically where they have different videos that you can see, gives you newsletters. I think there's also trainings that are on there and you don't have to be a professional in the field to go to one of her seminars or hear one of the trainings. So yeah, there's various ways, but basically I would start with the internet and go from there.
Okay, and what are the types of things people will gain by doing that? I know that you have. I'm sure you work with family members because even though you're providing the care at your organization, you're based in Northern California. And you're providing the care for these people. I'm sure you're working with family members and giving them guidance as well as it relates to this. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. So what if somebody were to learn more about validation therapy? I mean, what do you think that they're going to then be able to, how quickly could they go and start applying what they're learning with family members?
Oh, right away. I think
okay, great.
It's what you want to know about how to communicate with people. It's just turning your perspective on it a little bit.
Yeah.
It's hard. I can 100% empathize with the child of a parent with memory loss who they're looking at their parent. They're looking at their mom, who's always been their mom. She looks like my mom, she talks like my mom, she walks like my mom. But that person who just said that thing, that can't be my mom, or my mom doesn't recognize me. I totally empathize with how difficult that must be. And so the temptation is there to be, Mom, it's me, I'm your daughter, I'm your son, don't you remember? But instead of doing that, that's alarming and frustrating to the person, and that's alarming and frustrating to you. So instead of, trying to correct the behaviors, instead you seek to understand the reasons behind the behaviors. And that way they're happier and more relaxed, and as well as you are, because as you know, caregiving is not an easy job. And with people with memory loss, it becomes even more frustrating and difficult at times for both the person living with memory loss and for the loved ones around them. I would just say all that to say that I think anybody can do it, especially since I kind of fell into it backwards. I think that we all have the tools within us with observing with people's body language and seeking reasons behind behaviors. I think anybody can do it.
Mm-hmm. What are the toughest type of behaviors you've had to deal with?
Probably with people with different angry or violent behaviors, when people's tendency is to lash out physically when they can't be understood or they can't understand. That's very challenging. And of course, just as Maslow's hierarchy of needs for human beings is the same for if you're young or you're old, or if you're confused, if you're not. So people with memory loss, still have sexual needs. And so that can be very challenging as well, with presenting that to family members, that their loved one still has these sexual needs. So
would you say that those that have been diagnosed with some form of dementia like Alzheimer's, and they are lashing out, they are getting aggressive, do you think it's because they're just having difficulty in communicating what they do want? Is that what you feel?
I do. I also think that different reasons can be a part of it as well. I mean, if your coping skill your whole entire life was whenever you're in a stressful situation that you physically lash out, that's not going to change whenever you have memory loss.
Mm-hmm. Got it.
So,
yeah. You mentioned Maslow's hierarchy of needs. All right. Tell me how that relates to what we're talking about the validation principles.
Sure. So, Maslow's hierarchy of needs is the pyramid that, if anybody's ever taken a psychology class before, you've seen this pyramid.
Right.
The bottom is physical, then it goes to safety, love and belonging, esteem, and self-actualization. So essentially all of our behavior can stem from said pyramid. So in terms of working with people with memory loss, in terms of physical needs that they might be expressing, they may have had a fall and, got themselves up and are injured, and the caregiver doesn't know that they had a fall because they didn't observe it, and or the person that had the fall didn't express it. So all of a sudden, when you're trying to assist them with getting ready for bed and you're helping to, put on their pajamas, they start swinging at you whenever you try to put on their shirt or whatever it may be. And so the the reason behind that, obviously, is that there's some sort of physical ailment going on, and they just can't express it. So as a caregiver, you would want to kind of observe what's going on and kind of step outside of the situation and think, what happened right before this behavior started? Was there a trigger to this event? And then, of course, observing things, looking over their body to make sure that, everything's okay, kind of pressing around different areas, in that specific example. Mm-hmm. But people also express needs for, safety. They may tell you that they're, somebody's following them, somebody's trying to kill them. In terms of love and belonging, that they're, they're repeatedly asking for their mother, their father, their husband, their wife. Do they, are sad, things of that nature.
Gotcha. Got it. So how do you, I would guess that you have incorporated this within the organization that you're with. So what goes on from a training perspective at your agency?
So first they come in and do an orientation, and then I do a presentation to the caregivers as well as just kind of troubleshooting with them whenever problems come up. So, as professional caregivers, they're very used to seeing these types of things. However, I feel like a lot of professional caregivers can be kind of tempted to do what we talked about earlier, which was the redirection technique of, somebody's asking you something and you're not answering them or addressing what they're asking for. You're just simply redirecting them to whatever it is that you're trying to get them to do, whether it is take a bath or eat a meal or get out of the car, whatever it might be. So I feel like that it's really important for caregivers of all types, professional and lay persons, to explore this and understand this, because it makes your quality of life so much better as a caregiver, and it makes their quality of life so much better as a person. To be understood is, I think, what we all strive to do.
We have listeners all over the country. Even now we're hitting even into other areas, other countries. But I know your agency is in Northern California, but go ahead and share with people, how if somebody want to get in touch with you or someone at the agency, tell us how would they go about doing that?
Yeah, so if you go to CSS Home Care, on the web, you'll find us there. We're located in Oakland, California. In addition to that, you can reach me via email. I'm jilldelich.css@gmail.com. And I'd be happy to answer people's phone calls as well, if it's okay to give my number.
Absolutely.
I'm at 510-725-5423.
Right. And that is Jill Delich. That's Dellich, right?
That's correct, and that's all one word.
Okay, and then finish the rest of your email.
.css@gmail.com.
Great, perfect. So, Jill, we've got a 2-3 minutes left, so I'm going to put you on the spot here, and there's so many people listening who are either confronted with a situation with a loved one, and someone with memory loss, or they could end up being confronted with a situation in the future. Any just kind of advice, words of wisdom that you have for those that are either dealing with it or could be dealing with it in the future?
My advice would be to people that are currently dealing with it is to get some information and to go be supported. The Alzheimer's Association is a great resource for finding local, wherever you may be, local support groups that are really supportive with each other. I mean, it's great to know that you're not alone in this experience. Caregiving can be so isolating, and especially caregiving for people with memory loss. In our society, it's still kind of like taboo, and people don't really understand it, and so it's just people are kind of tucked away that have memory loss, as well as their caregivers. So I would really strongly like to advocate for people joining support groups, taking care of themselves, and seeking information. You know, everything that you do with memory loss, what works today may not work tomorrow. What works now may not work 5 minutes from now. So it's important to be prepared with all your different types of tools. So in terms of validation techniques, that is, you know, having the tool of redirection if needed, with your approach, with touch and centering, with mirroring them and matching their emotions, with asking questions, and incorporating music when you can. These things are very important, and I feel like it's brought a lot of joy and peace to my life with working with people with memory loss, and I hope and I think I have brought the same to them. And so I would just like to advocate for all the people out there and to let them know that you're doing a good job, you're not alone, keep up the good fight, and keep finding resources and trying different things.
That's great advice, and you know, just thank you for everything you do. I think it's wonderful. Jill Delich with CSS Home Care, thank you so much for joining us today, and we have to have you back in the future. And there's lots to talk about. And so thank you, and thank you all for tuning in. Share again with family and friends about the aging boomers. And thank you so much for joining us. Be safe out there, and we'll talk to you all soon.